Welcome back. Data download time. In 2020, Latino voters made up about 13% of the presidential vote. The bloc, though, is only growing, meaning these voters could be key to understanding where the nation's electorate is headed. Our new NBC News Telemundo poll offers some clues about how the Latino vote both differs from and aligns with the overall American electorate. Republicans do believe they can make some inroads. So let's take a look. To start, this is where Democrats have an advantage. Latino voters are much younger than the overall electorate, 38%. Fall between the ages of 18 to 34. Only a quarter of American voters overall are in that age group. Latino voters are less likely to have a college degree than voters in the electorate overall. But it is a gap that has been closing over the last decade. And Latino voters, while they still lean pretty Democratic, this 21-point gap actually isn't as big as it was in past elections. So there is that going on. And if you dig a little further, you'll see a split in the Latino vote that is actually all too familiar in the broader electorate. It's a political divide between urban and rural voters. So even though Latinos prefer Democratic Congress by 21 points overall, the advantage varies significantly depending on where you live. As you can see here, urban Latinos give Democrats a 28-point advantage. That continues to decrease basically as you get closer to rural America. Suburban voters, the advantage is just 13 points, and it's down to single digits. This is why Republicans think they can make inroads in South Texas. And then there are demographic divisions that also looks similar. On the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, urban Latinos disapprove of that decision by 26 points. But again, as you move geographically, just over half of Latinos in suburbs disapprove, and in rural areas, that gap was just 4 points. And then finally, Latino Republicans are actually more likely to identify with Donald Trump over the party than the overall GOP electorate. Check this out. 55% of Latino Republicans still say they're a Republican more than they're a Trump supporter. But 40% call themselves a Trump supporter. It's a 15-point gap. In our most recent poll of Republicans overall, it was a 25-point gap. Fascinating.
NBC has now confirmed at least 78 people have lost their lives after Ian carved a path of destruction. That includes, excuse me, 4 people in North Carolina, 74 in Florida, more than 800,000 customers remaining without power, though that's an improvement from the more than 2 million in the dark when the weekend began. Want to bring in Liz McLaughlin now, who's standing by for us there. Liz, give us a sense, as we spoke yesterday, just absolute destruction there. As we know now, the rescue efforts are ongoing. What's going on?
That's right. Yasmin, crews are working day and night. We're here in Fort Myers right now, and you can see some of the demolitions crews behind me. Residents won't be able to access this area for another week, we're learning, because it's just there's so many challenges to go through all of this rubble to try to see if people need help, to try to recover bodies, unfortunately, those who lost their lives. And we just heard some updated numbers from the Lee County officials, one of the hardest hit counties. And the sheriff here said that more than 800 have been rescued and 42 casualties. Now, that's far more than any other county. It's the majority of deaths here in Florida. And neighboring counties evacuated a day before Lee County, which is drawing some criticism. Some residents here say they didn't feel they had enough time to leave, some wondering if those casualties could have been avoided with better planning. This behind me used to be a marina, used to be a place where families came go get a drink at the tiki bar, where you take your kids to the bait shop, and now it's just a shell. I spoke to the business owner that owns this parcel about how he felt also frustrated with law enforcement, and we heard from the Lee County Sheriff. Let's listen.
Don't tell me one sheriff can't sit on a main road going into the only way to get in, and nobody goes down there except search and rescue. They didn't do that. Why? So you can give criticism and put the blame where it is, but they need to be blamed. They need to be held accountable.
I stand 100% with my county commissioners, my county manager. We did what we had to do at the exact same time. I wouldn't have changed anything. And I know, being in those meetings from the very minute, this storm was very unpredictable.
In Lee County emergency documents, however, really stress a time is of the essence strategy. The places that we were yesterday, as when I talked to you from near Pine Island, there's only one way in and out, and a few other places are like that too. Those bridges, roads totally collapsed now, and those emergency planning documents note the challenge there, that a swift evacuation just isn't possible because of the large population and the very few roadways. So a lot of questions here about that planning and what could be done to prevent this tragedy in the future.
Two things of note here, important to reiterate. The president announcing yesterday, Liz, that he's going to be traveling to the state of Florida on Wednesday, I believe, and that is after his trip to Puerto Rico on Monday, also hard hit by a hurricane. Liz McLaughlin for us, thank you. We appreciate it.
Season 48 of Saturday Night Live welcomed in a slew of changes, and the show's opening sketch acknowledged the shakeup. Peyton and Eli Manning, played by first-time host and Top Gun Maverick star Miles Teller, plus cast member Andrew Dismukes, took a break from Monday Night Football's Manning cast to analyze the premiere.
Let's see what Heidi's got. She's never let me down.
Hello, I'm Governor Kristi Noem, and I want to take your abortion rights.
And she let me down. What about a fun impression like Anthony Fauci or Lindsey Graham or Rudy Giuliani?
Yeah, well, those are all Kate McKinnon.
Damn.
Veteran cast members Mikey Day and James Austin Johnson channeled Adamlevine and Armie Hammer in a game show poking fun at the latest celebrity scandals.
The game is send a woman a normal DM and you win $100 million.
Gonna kick things off with a holy moly!
Are you sure?
So I have my message.
What's it gonna be?
I want to break open your bones and suck out the marrow.
The show welcomed in 4 new cast members: Marcelo Hernandez, Molly Kearney, Devin Walker, and Michael Longfellow, after a departure of 8 regulars from last season. The night's musical guest was Grammy Award-winning rapper Kendrick Lamar.
As communities in Florida and the Carolinas take stock of the devastation from Ian, another major storm is gaining strength off Mexico's west coast. CNN meteorologist Gene Norman joins us now. Gene, I just saw there was an update. This is getting stronger and stronger by the minute, it seems.
Exactly right, Kim. The news on Hurricane Orlene, it goes from bad to worse. Just a couple hours ago, it went from a Cat 1 to a Cat 3. Now it's jumped up to a Category 4 major hurricane. It is expected to make landfall on Monday, but the big threat with this system will be heavy rain that could cause some devastating flooding, landslides, and flash flooding in western Mexico. Again, here's the latest on it. Now a Category 4 with max winds of 130 miles an hour. Still creeping slowly to the north, still about maybe 175 miles off the coast. The problem is that we've seen this storm rapidly intensify, what I call the fingerprints of climate change. These major hurricanes intensifying rapidly, and this one has blown the doors off of rapid intensification, increasing over 40 miles an hour in just a 12-hour time period. Now, what it all means is there are hurricane warnings now from Mazatlan all the way down to Manzanillo, so folks in this area really need to be prepared for a devastating storm. And now that the forecast has changed a little bit, this storm may not get to the landfall location until sometime late on Monday, maybe the wee hours of Tuesday morning. And again, that's just bad news because a slowing hurricane as it approaches the coast just means a lot of rain. We could be seeing 6 to 8, in some cases 10 inches, and that, Kim, is going to be a very devastating situation as far as the flooding and the potential for landslides and mudslides. So again, going from bad to worse in western Mexico, it wouldn't surprise me in a couple days we might see the same kind of pictures coming out of there as we've been seeing in Florida.
Il mio appello si rivolge innanzitutto al Presidente della Federazione Russa, supplicandolo di fermare anche per amore del suo popolo questa spirale di violenza e di morte. D'altra parte, addolorato per l'immane sofferenza della popolazione ucraina a seguito dell'aggressione subita, dirigo un altrettanto fiducioso appello al Presidente dell'Ucraina ad essere aperto a serie proposte di pace. E che dire del fatto che l'umanità si trova nuovamente davanti alla minaccia atomica? È assurdo. Che cosa deve ancora succedere? Quanto sangue deve ancora scorrere perché capiamo che la guerra non è mai una soluzione, ma solo una distruzione? In nome di Dio, in nome del senso di umanità che alberga in ogni cuore, rinnovo il mio appello affinché si giunga subito al cessate il fuoco.